The bus wasn't on any schedule, yet there it was, idling at the deserted depot like it had been waiting for us since the world began. No headlights pierced the fog, but its windows glowed the colour of dying embers, pulsing, as if the coach itself were breathing. The destination marquee flickered through half-legible words. Yesterday, tomorrow, regret, before burning out into darkness. I remember the exact moment the bus hissed to a stop in front of us. The air around its peeling steel frame seemed to freeze, as though the night itself were holding its breath. Its headlights glowed a jaundiced yellow that barely pierced the fog curling in from the river. The destination sign above the windshield flickered between blankness and a single word scrawled in antique serif letters, regret. Mom, Marianne, tightened her grip on my wrist. Her nails bit the skin, but I didn't complain. She'd barely spoken during the cab ride to this forgotten depot at the edge of the city, offering only a hushed, "Just trust me, Elias." I'd wanted to ask where we were going, why she was trembling, why this bus smelled faintly of rust and grave dirt. I followed because that's what good sons do, even when their mothers feel distant, as if they've spent your entire life trying and failing to love you. The doors folded open with the squeal of old bones. A conductor, not quite a driver yet, for he stood on the pavement, materialized out of the darkness. He was tall, funereal, dressed in a grey suit, so outdated it might once have ferried mourners to Victorian gravesides. His hat brim cast a stripe of shadow over eyes that gleamed like damp coal. "Evening," he croaked, though it sounded less like a greeting than a judgment. "One ticket purchased, one fare. Outstanding." His gaze flicked to me. I felt weighed, measured, sentenced. Mom forced a brittle smile and guided me up the steps. Inside, the aisle was narrow, cluttered with seats upholstered in patterns that belonged to decades I'd only read about. The overhead lights glowed cold and steady. There was no humming engine, no mechanical rumble. The bus seemed to glide forward as soon as we sat, as if gravity itself had begun to slip. Through the windows there were no streets, no lamps, no skyline, only swirling black mist threaded with dim stars that crawled like worms behind frosted glass. The ordinary world fell away. Half an hour, though clocks felt meaningless, passed before curiosity overcame fear. I rose and walked forward. The driver's seat lay behind an elaborate cage of tarnished brass bars. The door to it stood ajar. The driver looked nothing like the conductor. He was gaunt, papery, with grey hair floating in an unseen breeze. His eyes were the color of candlewick ash. "Sir?" I whispered. He turned, lips stretched into a smile far too wide. "All passengers ask eventually. Not about where we're going, but about why they're here." Something in his voice, dry as parchment, warm as wrought, invited honesty. "My mother won't explain." "The rules are simple," he said, folding skeletal hands atop the wheel, though I noticed the bus moved without his touch. "Each ticket purchases one traversal. Any point in time, any moment of life the traveler wishes to relive. But passage demands a toll." My stomach clenched. "Money? A soul," he breathed. "A living soul brought aboard by the traveler. The bus chews regrets and drinks from futures never lived. A tidy trade." I swallowed, thinking of the haunted look in Mom's eyes, the tension that had shadowed our home since Dad's death last year. Dad had never wanted kids. He'd told me once, voice heavy with beer, that I had ruined everything. He beat Mom until her gaze grew as distant as the moon. Now she sat alone near the back, clutching a leather handbag to her chest. The driver watched the realization arrive in my face. "You see it now. Some bring strangers, vagrants lulled with promises. Others bring family." Blood roared in my ears. I staggered down the aisle. "Mom?" She jerked up, eyes rimmed red. Elias, Her voice cracked. You have to understand. I did, but understanding felt like drowning. I slumped into the seat opposite her. The lights overhead dimmed, or maybe my vision tunneled. Say it, I whispered. Tears spilled. I never wanted this life, she said. I was 19, head full of wanderlust. I dreamed of architecture in Rome, markets in Marrakesh. Then I met your father. He was wild, brilliant, cruel, and I mistook cruelty for passion. When I found out I was pregnant, he accused me of trapping him. He made vows I never should have believed, and each day with him carved away pieces of me. You were born into a war I couldn't win. Pain strummed across her voice. I tried, Elias. I swear I tried, but there were days I looked at you and saw the bars of my cage. Every memory of her distant hugs suddenly sharpened, puncturing my chest. I had been a reminder of mistakes, of missed shores, of bruises. And now, I asked. I bought a ticket, she choked, to the week before the test turned positive. I could run, change everything. I thought, if I brought you... She buried her face. But seeing you here, hearing you speak, how could I have thought your soul the lesser price? Because you were desperate, I whispered, and because Dad taught her that love equaled suffering. At the front, the driver's voice slithered through the speakers. We approached the convergence. 10 minutes. The lights flickered crimson, an arterial warning. Wind moaned through invisible cracks. The aisle elongated, seats stretching impossibly far before crumpling back like an accordion. Architecture unshackled from physics. Glimpses of other riders flickered in reflected glass. A girl in a 1960s sundress sobbing into blood-stained palms. A middle-aged man clutching a noose. Ghosts of trades successfully consummated or undone mid-journey. Mom's grip on the handbag tightened. She whispered, if you escape, the bus will claim me instead. The bargain demands completion. Please stay. Tears blurred her eyes, but the horror felt one-sided. I would not accept a life measured in someone else's guilt. I thought of Dad's fists, of nights hearing her cry through thin walls, of mornings I made her coffee because she couldn't move. She loved me in fragments, but she had loved me. I rose. The window beside us rattled, its latch rusted shut. But the pain looked fragile, a membrane between this nightmare and possibility. Her fingers caught my sleeve. Don't. The driver will... Crack! I smashed my elbow into the glass. It spider-webbed, but thick black liquid seeped from the fractures, sizzling like acid. The aisle erupted in shrieks from unseen throats. I ignored them, slammed again. The pain burst outward. Frigid wind howled, carrying scents of salt and distant gulls. Mom lunged, but the handbag slipped, scattering Polaroids. My baby pictures, folded drawings, apologies she'd written yet never handed me. Regret made paper wings on the floor. I'm sorry, I said, meaning everything. Then I dove through darkness. The fall ended abruptly. I landed on damp cobblestones under a sunrise sky, just turning peach over a harbour. The bus, if it existed here, was gone. An antique sign on a dock read, Whitby, August 2004. I knew the year. Mom was 18 and free. Somewhere close, she still believed oceans were doorways, not prisons. Time travel tastes like copper on the tongue. My legs trembled as paradoxes stitched themselves around me. I stumbled toward a cafe overlooking the water. Inside, laughter braided with coffee aroma. And there she was, short-haired, freckled, sketchbook balanced on her knee, drawing Gothic arches that would never be built. She looked like hope wearing skin. I ordered tea and sat nearby, introducing myself as Eli, close to truth but safe from recognition. We talked about the cathedral ruins up the hill. about places she longed to see, Lisbon's tiled alleyways, Kyoto's shrines. She joked that she needed an accomplice to escape her overbearing boyfriend. For weeks, I became that accomplice. We rambled the moors, sketched crumbling abbeys. I told stories of cities I'd never seen, borrowed from guidebooks Dad once mocked. Each tale widened her eyes. Guilt clawed me. This was my mother, yet not. I could never say, "I am your son." The words would burn the timeline. One twilight, seated on the breakwater where waves flung silver spray, she confessed fear of marrying her boyfriend, Paul. How he'd grown jealous whenever she dreamed aloud. My hands shook as I offered the advice I'd always yearned to give her. Dreams weigh nothing until we chain them. Don't accept chains. She smiled, but her eyes glistened. Summer drifted into September. I sensed time thinning. The bus's magic had left a fuse burning. Some mornings I faded at the edges, hands translucent like breath on glass. I had fought to live. Now I risked erasing myself entirely. One evening, she met me on the pier, suitcase in hand. "I did it," she said, breathless. "I told Paul it's over. I applied for a working holiday visa in New Zealand, and I booked passage on the Artemisia. She sails tomorrow." Pride and sorrow collided inside me. We spent that night walking the lantern-lit streets. She spoke of glaciers and stars in the southern hemisphere. I told her she was brave. At dawn, gulls wheeled over the harbour as the Artemisia's smokestack coughed to life. We stood at the gangway. "There's still time to change your mind," I teased. My voice faltered. "That's fear talking," she answered, echoing advice I'd given her. Then she surprised me. She pressed a sketch into my hands. It showed a bus floating through clouds, its windows glowing. Inside were silhouettes, one tall, one small, holding hands. A dream I had. I couldn't breathe. Tears blurred the deck. I forced a smile, pocketed the drawing. She stepped aboard. The ship's horn bellowed. Ropes thudded free. The gulf between us widened into water. She reached the rail, waved a gloved hand. "Eli, thank you." I raised my arm, but already my skin shimmered like heat haze. She frowned, confusion overtaking joy. As if she watched a photograph bleach, I mouthed, "Be happy." The sun crowned the horizon, dazzling. When the glare eased, my hand was no longer there. Somewhere outside linear time, an empty bus halted before a crossroads of starlight. The driver peered into the rearview mirror. Every seat was vacant but one. Marianne huddled there, clutching nothing, for the handbag lay forgotten on a cobblestone street that might never exist. The driver tipped his cap. Debt acknowledged, paid in full. The doors sighed open, revealing a shore washed in morning gold. Marianne stepped out, barefoot, eyes wide. She was younger, lighter, unburdened. Ahead, a ship's whistle rang. On the horizon, a boy waved, then faded like mist, and a new life, unwritten, unfurled. The bus shuddered, its task complete. With a groan of metal and a wheeze of ancient sorrow, it rolled forward, swallowed by darkness that smelled faintly of brine and possibility. Behind it, 2 footprints, one large, one small, lingered in the sand until the tide came in and carried them everywhere.